want to make this video about like genetic potential in bodybuilding because some of the videos I make, the most popular ones about like how to look like a certain anime character, I need to make it clear that like you're not going to look exactly like this anime character because they have a different genetic composition to you. They have a different skeletal frame, they have different muscle insertions, different like muscle building potential, and you can get close to approximating like the proportions of their physique, but you're never going to look exactly like them because everyone has a different like genetic potential. Like I have a pretty thick waist and not particularly broad shoulders, whereas some people have like a tiny little waist and like super massive long collarbones that give them like really wide shoulders. And that's not ideal for bodybuilding because we like that V taper look, that really skinny waist and really wide shoulders. So for me, like I have to focus on keeping my waist small, and I have to try and build my upper back and my side delts to make my back look wider. And you might have a similar build to me, or you might be more just like a straight like rectangle build, or you might be like this, or you could be like really skinny, like skinny shoulders and small waist. You might have like skinny wrists and knees and stuff, or you could be the opposite, like built really thickly. You could have like a big thick neck, and I had like a really skinny neck when I was younger. The point is, everyone is very different genetically. We all have different starting points, and we all have different potentials as well. And like the way each of us builds muscle is gonna be different. It's gonna take different lengths of time, and it's gonna be easier for certain muscle groups, harder for others. Some unlucky people, it will be like really hard to build any muscle anywhere. Some people will just blow up every single muscle like barely training because they're just blessed with good muscle building genetics. For me, like I don't really have to try to train my glutes, they just kind of blow up from squatting, but I have to try really hard to grow my quads because my quads are like really weak for some reason. So that's like something I have to focus on. Like I don't really have to do much hip thrusting at all, but I need to focus on my quads, doing like leg press and front squats and that kind of thing. Because just squatting, like back squatting, my glutes and my lower back tend to take over. I think I'm posterior chain dominant, which means like my hamstrings, my glutes and my lower back are like more powerful than like my quads. So like I'm aware of that in myself, and so I can adjust my training to account for these individual traits that I have. And it's going to take different lengths of time for you to like reach your genetic potential. So some people who are blessed will be able to like fully almost max out their potential within like 3 years. For average people, it'll probably take like 5 years. And for below average people, it could take up to like 10 years. Based on like all the fitness influencers you see on Instagram and YouTube and stuff, you might think that you're below average because you see all these guys and they all have like amazing physiques. And like your physique is not as good as them. So you think, okay, I'm like below average then, because the average seems to be all these amazing guys at the top. So since you're like worse physique than that, you think that you're below average. Truth is, you're probably average or slightly above average or slightly below average, because the guys who become super popular fitness influencers, they tend to be the guys with amazing genetics, right? Because they look the best because they have the best genetics, and a lot of them are on steroids as well. And we tend to click on the videos and the posts of the people who look the best. So these genetic elite guys, they like get filtered through, they reach the top, and all the kind of average guys who might have like really good information and stuff, they don't look as good as these top guys. So they kind of get filtered out, and they're not as popular as these genetic elites at the top. So that kind of feeds into this body dysmorphia where you think you're like dissatisfied with your body because you don't look as amazing, you don't look as good as these like top 0.1% genetic freaks at the top of the game, and you see yourself as like inadequate and below average genetics and all this stuff. And that makes a lot of people give up because they think like they'll never reach the level of these top guys, so it's not even worth trying. But the thing is, like, each of us has our own genetic potential that we can strive towards, like, reaching. Like, I want to see just how far I can take like my strength and my body. I want to see how fit I can become, you know, by the time I'm 30 or 35 or so. I want to see what my physical genetic potential is, and then after that I'll focus on like health and longevity and stuff, because obviously being like a massive bodybuilder into your 50s is not good for like long-term health. So I want to like short-term like max out, see what I can do, and then just focus on health and living like a good long healthy life. Like that Socrates quote, it's a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. Like, I definitely agree with that. I think everyone should push themselves as far as they can to see what their limit is. And you know, once you're confident you've done that, you've pushed yourself basically as hard as you can, you know, then you can just focus on health and other things. For the guys who might get like discouraged from feeling that they have below average genetics, or who feel that they've like already maxed out their strength potential, you know, there are always different ways to keep making progress, different ways to switch it up. You can try out different sports. So if you're like a power lifter, you could go into CrossFit, or you could go into Olympic weightlifting or something, and you're like learning these new skills, new movement patterns, and that keeps it interesting rather than just, you know, maxing out on the same 3 lifts for like 10 years. You can switch it up, and that way I think you're not going to fall out of love with like strength training, because you might get bored with just powerlifting. If I reach like my strength goals, then, you know, I could get bored if I just kept trying to push for like an extra 2 kilos a year or something on each of my lifts. So at that point I would probably switch up and go into Olympic weightlifting or CrossFit, you know, try more conditioning type stuff. That way I think I'm not ever going to fall out of love with physical training. But the main point is, each of us, we have different genetic potentials. Like, if I completely max out my body, my genetic potential, without using drugs, and you do the same, they're going to look different. We're not going to have the exact same body, right? We're both going to look good, but we're going to look different. Maybe I have like a thicker waist than you, and maybe you have like bigger legs than me, just like, because that's like our natural potentials. That's just how we are built genetically. And I think as long as you're aware of that, and you don't like compare yourself exactly to, you know, anime characters or these top fitness influencers, and you're aware that you're not going to look exactly like them, but it is still possible for you to like reach an amazing level and to like max out your potential, then I think that's a good position to be in. And hopefully you're not going to become like bitter and resentful, because I don't want to mislead people into thinking they can look exactly like Baki. The main point of those videos is to like inspire people to start training, you know, because a lot of anime fans probably aren't in very good shape. They spend like 10 hours a day watching anime. This is what I used to do. And I want to inspire them to like start getting into shape, because I used to love the physiques of these characters. I used to think, you know, they're so badass, I want to be like them. And that's a big part of what inspired me to start training. So I think a lot of other anime fans will have that same like drive to look like these characters, and they just needed like a little push, and they needed some guidance on how to do that. And that way, you know, we'll have more people getting in the gym, more people caring about their health and their fitness, which is great in this modern society where fitness is kind of like, you have like skinny shaming instead of fat shaming, and like obesity is praised and all this stuff, which is a bit weird in my opinion, and like ultimately destructive, because you're encouraging bad health. You're encouraging these people to do bad things to their health, and ultimately that's going to lead to them like dying and living poorer lives. So if I can inspire people to take care of their health and improve their bodies, then I'm very satisfied. And I've had a lot of people comment on those videos saying, you know, thank you, like this inspired me and all this kind of stuff, which makes you feel really good. Like the idea that I could be responsible for like some kid going to the gym and like changing his life, you know, changing his body, his health. I didn't think I would have like this big of an impact yet. I thought it would take like a year or two for me to get any kind of traction, but like one of my videos has like 25,000 views. So, you know, a lot of people are seeing this, and that means a lot of people are thinking about, you know, getting in good shape, which I think is awesome.